It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks very much for joining me this morning. We've got a lot of really good information for you over the course of the next hour. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a show designed to inform consumers about the process of buying and selling a home. I share my experiences as somebody that's been ranked in the top 1% of agents in our market for nearly a decade. And I like to peel back the curtain and give you a look into how we as agents operate, how we analyze and interpret situations for your benefit, how we help people. You get to apply this information to your own set of circumstances so that no matter what, you are an informed consumer so long as you listen to the information on the show. So I appreciate you joining me. Welcome. If you'd like to reach out to me, of course, we do sell real estate during the week. My team and I sell about 200 homes a year. Again, we're one of the top teams here in Charleston. We'd love to earn your business, so feel free to call or text me off air. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And of course, on that website, you can learn more about myself, my team, who we are, what we do, what we've sold, how we sell it, testimonials, search the MLS, listen to the show, all kinds of fun stuff. Listingsincharleston.com. So I want to open up this program by speaking to those of you that want to sell your house by the end of the year. If you want to sell your house before Christmas, you need to start now. I also want to talk to buyers. If you're looking for a good deal, they're out there. Start looking right now. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to talk about a few other things a little later on in the program, but this is the time of year where there's a lot of frustration in our market. If you think about it, we have all these sellers that go on the market when they're told, hey, list in February, list in March. That's when you need to list your home for sale. That's when there are the most buyers. That's when you stand the best chance of selling your house. And here we are. It's September, and their home has not sold. They are extremely frustrated at the experience at this point in time. And in some instances, those frustrations are warranted. They should be concerned. Their home isn't selling because the appropriate actions haven't been taken to position that home to sell. So there's a lot of frustration out there. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I sit down with so many sellers and we talk about the process after having been on the market with another agent for 4, 5, 6, 12, 24 months. And sometimes they've gone through multiple agents and their home has still not sold. And I will never forget this one appointment that I went on a few years ago. And it's a record, that's for sure. It was the shortest listing appointment of my life. I walked in after having a very good conversation with them over the phone that took about 20 minutes. And I walked in and we went through the house, looked at the house. They sat me down at the kitchen table and they said, okay, Brian, we're interviewing a bunch of agents. First question, will you sell this house for a 4% commission? I said, no. They said, thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day. And I left. And I was speaking to a friend of mine. And I call them a friend because they're a past client of mine and they sold their home a few years ago. They moved out of state. And now they're selling their home and ironically moving back. And so they're anxious to buy something here. And so we're talking about the process of them selling their house. And they are now interviewing for their third real estate agent. And this is the type of person that is a true do-it-yourselfer. He will not allow me to help him with referrals. He's very proud. He was a military guy. He's got this, right? So he called me finally and just expressed some of his frustrations. And he says, Brian, I'm interviewing these agents and I cannot seem to find a quality real estate agent. I said, well, first of all, what kind of questions are you asking these agents? He said, well, first of all, I'm not going to pay any more than 4.5%. I'm going to pay 3% to a buyer's agent, and there are plenty of listing agents out there that should do this for 1.5%. They're putting it on the MLS. Maybe they're taking professional photography, and then they're letting other agents sell it. And I said, if that is your expectation of a listing agent that's going to get this job done for you, you need to change your expectations. There are hundreds of other things real estate agents do other than put a sign in the yard, put a lockbox out in your property, put it on the MLS, and then kick their feet on their proverbial desk and wait for people to show it and bring offers. If that is the kind of agent you're looking for, they're easy to find because they're a dime a dozen. Here are the things you should be asking. And so we had this conversation, and it ended up very positively. But there are a lot of people in this situation right now. They don't understand why their home has not sold. You might be one of them right now. You might know of somebody that's had their home on the market, and from their perspective, it should have sold 10 times over by now. But it's just not happening. So, buyers, I want to speak to you for a second. You've had to compete in a challenging market for several years now. And I'm here to tell you that very soon, it's going to become a little easier for you. We're seeing it already in some different areas of Charleston. And here's why. And hear me out. Let's look back about 15 years ago. Our market, really starts heating up. You can buy a house, put a little money into it, flip it, make money hand over fist, and then keep doing it. You buy it in 2002, and then in 2004, you're selling it for $100,000 more. You could put a contract on a new construction house, wait 6 to 9 months for it to be built, and then sell it for a massive profit. But here's the deal. Buyers were motivated by financial gain. There's always the primary motivation for moving. But when you look at a market that is also fueled by auxiliary motivation, something like financial gain. Well, heck, I'll move if I can make $150,000. I've only been here for 18 months. Why wouldn't I do that? I'd be crazy not to. Well, 15 or so years ago, interest rates were at 6%, 6.5%. But they didn't care because the equity was skyrocketing. I mean, here's a perfect example. And I was looking at this, and I don't have any relationship to this person whatsoever. I was just trying to find an example to support this, of which there are multiple. And one of the areas in which this was really prevalent was Wild Dunes, off of Isle of Palms. There's a beachfront condo. It sold back in 2002 for $1 million. And then in 2009, they listed it for $2.5 million. Didn't sell. Then 2 years later, 2011, they listed it for $1.1 million. Didn't sell. They finally sold it in 2013 for $925,000. They took a $75,000 loss on the property after having owned it for over a decade. But here's the crazy part. Had that seller not been so greedy, he probably could have sold that unit in 2009 for $2 million. He decided to ask $2.5 million. He could have made $1 million. But instead, he tried to play the market. The market turned. He couldn't wrap his head around not making a massive profit as if $1 million isn't enough. And ultimately, he ended up taking a loss on the property. Now, so let's get back to the reasons why now is a good time to buy. And remember, buyers were motivated by financial gain, just as sellers were, 12 to 15 or so years ago. Then, 6 or 7 years ago, what happened? There was no longer a financial gain as it related to equity. There was none. There was a huge financial gain, however, in the form of affordability. Someone that bought at the top of the market, say somewhere around 2006, may have been locked in at a 6.5% interest rate. If they were able to keep their house, 5 years later, 2011, now they're looking at interest rates with a 3 in front of it. So again, people had a financial incentive to move because they could go and buy nearly twice as much house for the same monthly payment. Or they could buy a home that was very similar in a different area and have half the payment. That's what helped facilitate a recovery, not just here in Charleston, nationwide. So the question is, where's the financial incentive now? The point that I want to make is that there isn't really a financial incentive. We're back to the basics here, folks. If you want to buy or sell your house, you should have a compelling reason to do so. The sellers that are dipping their toes in the water and saying, hey, we're going to try this out for a bit. If it sells, great. If it doesn't, oh, well, we'll try again later. We'll try again next year. So they have an agent that is, secretly foaming at the mouth for a listing because they're so few and far between right now because of this lack of inventory, that they say, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Why not? Knowing that in order for that house to sell, the price is going to have to be reduced. And from their perspective, they have to time that conversation just right. Because they know if they try to get you to drop your price too early, then it's going to look like they just told you what you wanted to hear so you could get them to sign on the dotted line. On the other hand, if they wait too long and they don't have that conversation about price, then the seller's going to just blame the agent because of their marketing. Their marketing hasn't produced a sale yet. So buyers, you want a good deal? Go look for the sellers that have been on the market for several months. It's a series of price reductions. That's going to show you that they're serious about selling their house, but just because they're serious does not mean they're desperate. If they haven't reduced their price, either their agent isn't communicating with them effectively, the seller is stubborn, they don't need to sell, or they're waiting for an offer to respond to kind of justify reducing their price. They want an offer to tell them their price is too low. The problem is buyers in this market are so educated, they've already seen that house online multiple times. And when they're doing their shopping for a new home, it's going to show up in the same search results every time they go hunting for a new listing. And they're at the point now where they're just skipping right over your house because it's old news. Now, sellers, what I just said sounds harsh. But if you've listened to my program, you know that I don't sugarcoat things on this show. This is an opportunity for me to tell you like it is. Now, obviously, when we're working together, there are certain people that do not like for me to be this blunt. And of course, I respect that. And we have a different kind of conversation. But this is a show designed to help both buyers and sellers win. I want you to win. So how do you win if you're one of those folks with a stale listing? With a home that may require some extra attention to sell. Perhaps it's some unique feature or features that make the sale a bit of a challenge. Maybe you think your home should have sold 10 times over by now and it just hasn't. Maybe you're probably, you're trying to make sense out of whether it's the market that's acting funny or the marketing that is or isn't being done, the condition of the house that needs to be improved, or the price. And the problem is you're not getting feedback consistently enough to make a judgment call. I mean, if that's you, if that's the person, if I'm describing a person that you know of that is struggling or has struggled, I have a resource for you. This is an ebook entitled How to Sell Your Home for Top Dollar in Any Market. It's not very long. It's a good read. It's got a lot of information in there, more than I can cover on this program unless I decided to dedicate an entire hour to it, which might not be a bad idea at some point, but I have too much to cover today. So I want you to text the word SELL, S-E-L-L, to 843-345-1273. I'm going to say that again. Text the word SELL, S-E-L-L, to 843-345-1273, 345-1273, and I will email you a free copy of the book entitled How to Sell Your Home for Top Dollar in Any Market. There's a lot of good information in there. It's not coming straight from me. It's not biased material. It's information that you need to know if you really want to sell your house. And again, if you want to sell your home by the end of the year, you need to start now because there's going to be some time associated with getting your property on the market the right way. We don't rush things on my team. There is no second chance at a first impression. So we wait for the professional photography to come back. We wait for the drone video to come back. We wait for certain things so that we are not shooting ourselves in the foot the moment we enter the market. And if you've been on the market, we need to rebrand it because something that's being done isn't working. So you need to take a little time to make sure things are correct. And then it's going to take a little time to find a buyer. And then it's going to take you 30 to 45 days to close. And we've got holidays in the middle of all of that. So if your goal is to sell by the end of the year, there should be some urgency associated with your decision-making process right now. But again, if you want a copy of that book, How to Sell Your Home for Top Dollar in Any Market, text the word SELL, S-E-L-L, to 843-345-1273. Stick around, guys. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Broadcast Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday mornings at 10 on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.